Hi, everybody. Happy Sunday. Um, Hope everybody's doing good. And happy to see all of you. On behalf of the National Committee of our party, we want to present our pre-convention discussion document and share with you some of the basic ideas that are underlying it. Um, it is one of three documents that the National Committee will offer to the party for pre-convention discussion. This one, which deals with the political moment and some of the issues around it, number one. Second, we'll deal with the party itself, the role of the party, what kind of party we're trying to build. And the third will be on the international situation. Together, those will be the overall framework for our conversation. So I want to start off by thanking the collective that put the document together. Um, they worked hard on it, and we appreciate their contributions. Secondly, just to talk a little bit about the process, we made a draft. We went back and forth. We did edits. We sent it to the national board. The board read it, debated it, made suggestions. We took them into consideration and added another layer of edits. We then shared it with the national committee of the party, and they added their 5 cents, 10 cents, $1, sometimes $5, and uh, here again, enriching the thinking of the document, and now uh, the National Committee offers it to you and party membership, and actually also to the broader public. And so that was the collective process that went into it, and will continue actually until the convention ends. When we sing the international, that's when this process will come to a conclusion. So, first thing I want to say about the document, um, everyone, is that it upholds the uh, party's basic policy and thinking that stresses the um, importance of combating the fascist danger today, and the need for a broad coalition in order to achieve that, and also the need for, and this is really important, for all of us to fight for working class leadership of that coalition, um, and and we feel that the fascist danger has presented a real crisis in the country, and uh, hard to overstate it. But at the same time, the document argues that as great and grave as that crisis is, it is not the cause of the crisis, but rather a symptom of a deeper crisis in the country, what we call uh, a a systemic crisis of capitalism itself. We're in the midst of a systemic crisis that has many different sides, and we argue, folks, in the opening paragraphs, that crisis goes all the way back to the founding of the country. You know, back to 1619 through today. And the evolution of monopoly capitalism and imperialism in the United States. And here you'll allow me a little theoretical point that is based on the notion that monopoly capitalism in this country is based on a racist and sexist social division of labor. I don't use that. We don't use that concept. We don't use that term in the document, but that's the underlying idea. In other words, we're talking about slavery. We're talking about the genocide against the Native American people. We're talking about patriarchy and the oppression of women. We're talking about bonded labor or indentured servitude, systems of exploitation that not only make the country what it is today, but also this common exploitation serves as the basis, we say, for a united struggle against that very exploitation. And what's actually happened is that there are two paths for dealing with this crisis. One capitalist that moves in the direction of reaction, conservatism, fascism, really. The other, based in the working class that goes toward democracy and progress, that has an emancipatory, liberatory, equality driven content. One path represented by politics and program and personality of a character like Trump and MAGA. The other, the document says, represented in the political trajectory and personages of a Martin Luther King Jr., this concept of a beloved community. And here we're talking in broad popular terms because we want to reach a broader and non-party audience. We just don't want to talk to ourselves about ourselves. And so on the one side, there's racism, segregation, a white republic. On the other, our concept of a multiracial, multi-gender, people's democracy, anti-monopoly, even democracy on the road to a working class state. That's our goal. And if you'll allow me another kind of theoretical point, we uphold in the document, in the discussion document, one of the main ideas of our party's program, and that is that road ahead, the road to socialism, is paved. Speaking of democracy, with the struggle for democracy. That's what our program argues. That's one of its central ideas, and what we mean by that is the right to collectively bargain and organize, the right to an abortion, the right to vote, the right to health care, the right to affirmative action, special compensatory measures to make up for past discrimination, the right to housing, to a job, to health care, to a clean and safe environment, the right to love who you want to love. That's what's going to determine the path ahead. And you'll note that the document spends a lot of time talking about the struggle for democracy. And here we're trying to make a point about what the party's main goal is, and in this regard, and if you were to ask me what that consists in, and I would say that it is in building mass movements on the issues. That is the the way ahead. And we say that because we know that there's a great deal of anger, not only in the party, but around it about the Biden administration's policy in Gaza, a policy which we condemn. And but the issue is what to do about it. And here again, we say that the answer is in what is actually taking place, and that is a mass movement that is emerging in the country to break with that policy. And we make the point, folks, that this ain't the first time we've been in this situation, and in the 60s, we were also confronted, the civil rights movement was also confronted by a danger on the right, severe repression at home, uh, racist segregation in the South by law, de facto segregation in the North, a racist imperialist war, about 500,000 troops fighting in Vietnam. And we trumpet the fact that Martin Luther King Jr. and the civil rights movement had the foresight and the genius to see that these issues were central fault lines in the edifice of imperialism, and they saw that they were weak links, and they understood that it was necessary to seize hold of, to grab hold to, and pull on those links, to fight around them, and in the course of that, they built a transformative movement that actually changed the course of history. It resulted in the Civil Rights Acts, the Fair Housing Act, the passing of Medicaid and Medicare, and eventually the end helped compel the end of the Vietnam War. And so we say we got to do the same thing today around Gaza, around abortion rights, around voting rights, around resisting the attack on trans rights. That's the key to moving ahead, and we feel like that the document is very optimistic. The document is filled with optimism about the possibility for doing so, because it posits that we are in two tremendous new moments. One is a upsurge in the democratic movement after the Dobbs decision and the revolt in the country, particularly among women, but not only at that decision. And secondly, most importantly, there's an upsurge in the class struggle, a new stage in the class struggle, a new class struggle moment. These strikes all across the country, and broad public support for those strikes, growth in class consciousness. And you heard brother Fain talk about the on the one side you got the billionaire class, on the other side you got the working class, and never the twain shall meet. And I tell you, I was in the meeting of the Labor Commission the other night, and there has been such a growth of resistance to the Biden policy on Gaza and the trade union movement that we never had anything coming even close during the Vietnam War. I mean, so many unions, CWA, the auto workers, the postal workers, NEA, AFT, the Coalition of Labor Union Women, UE. You can go on and on and on, coming out now saying, hell no, we're not for this. We're not support. We demand and a ceasefire, and then challenging directly, and so we have a lot to to build on, a lot to be proud of. That's where the working class is. And I always remember the words of Gus Hall, our former chairman and general secretary, that keep your eye on the working class, and that is a growing, comrades, sight to behold. And there also is, and I'll end with this thought, a growth in uh, uh, deepening of the radicalization process, and a growth in socialist consciousness, that something that we celebrate. You know, we talked some years ago about the emergence of a socialist moment. That door opened in around the Sanders campaign in 2016 and 2020, and we welcome it, and everybody was talking about it. But we also recognize that it was kind of a diffuse socialism, you know? It was kind of to use a Marxist term, a utopian kind of socialism. And socialism was kind of based in middle class thinking. And we argue that we need a working class led socialism, a working class based socialism, a socialism 2.0 led by women, you know, socialism led by people of color, by LGBTQ people, by the by the disabled, a scientific uh, Marxist Leninist socialism that is organized politically, ideologically, organizationally by the least of these who produce the most. And we end the document by saying that socialism 2.0 is on the verge of arising, and you can almost see it, you know, just on the horizon, just around the corner, just over there. And we call on our members to march forward, grab a hold to it as we march towards our convention. So, with that, comrades, thank you very much for taking the time to listen, and let's discuss. Let's have a rich, wonderful discussion as we march towards our convention, as we march towards the November election, as we march towards a bright socialist future.